Hey, family. Welcome to the Tribe. I am your host, Octavius Davis, and you've tuned into another edition of A Tribe Called Family. I'm really excited about this week's guest because we actually went to college together. And then lo and behold, one day I know that we're at this event that we put on for foster parents and adoptive families. We did this big movie night experience at this baseball park to see Whoville. And then I look to my right and I see this troop. I saw a posse, a crew of individuals dressed up in matching outfits looking like some Who's.
Hey family, welcome to the tribe called family.
Miss Amelia Stapleton. Amelia, what's going on with you?
Hello.
So we gotta talk about that coordinated outfit that you all had at that movie night event because y'all took the show. Y'all stole the whole night. Whose idea was it, and why specifically Whoville pajamas?
Well, it's always my idea, but in the beginning, it was my idea. I started with the kids dressing alike. I'm trying to see. It was the foster closet Christmas party, and I dressed the kids alike, and we got so much attention,
Wow.
and everyone was like, "Oh my God, you guys look so nice. You look this," and I had smaller kids at the time too. So when I transitioned into the older kids, I thought it was gonna be kind of hard, for them to accept the fact that I like for us to look alike, and it was so easy. They, it's like now every time we go somewhere, it was like, what are we wearing? Are we
What's the
dressing
outfit?
alike?
What's the
Yeah.
coordination? That's so awesome. So, Amelia, I'm really looking forward to diving further into uh, when you became a foster parent and the different demographics of young people that you've chosen to foster. But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about yourself. Now, I mentioned that night at the baseball grounds. I don't think I'd seen you prior since college.
Hmm.
And I'm
Hmm.
not going to share when we graduated college, but it was back in the
Right.
day. Okay. But what inspired you to become a foster parent?
So I've always wanted to be a foster parent. I didn't know what direction to go in to become a foster parent, but I know I always wanted to deal with children, period. Um, I didn't grow up in a bad situation. I just didn't grow up in the two-parent home situation, sometimes not even one parent home. I was never adopted, never had to live with outside family, but I did live with different family members. So living with different family members, it showed me that I had inconsistency in my life.
Mm.
So that was something that I didn't like at all. Not the inconsistency, but I love my family and I love how they treated me and I love everything about the whole situation of having my family on my side. And I
Yeah.
did meet another. I have another family that I live with my aunt in Albany, Georgia, and I had my grandma that lived next door, which really wasn't my grandma, but became my grandma and became my family, and it's still my family right now. And I
Wow.
also want to share this. When we was younger, we used to go to Disney World, and my auntie used to dress the kids alike. So that kind of like
So
I
that,
kind of
that planted that
mimicked that
seed.
from her. Yeah. So that's where I get it from. I get it from my auntie Teresa. She's in Albany, Georgia. So I love her. I always talk to her and tell her how much I appreciate everything she taught me growing up. But I've always wanted to be a foster parent. I wanted to
But
show kids.
where did that come from though? Was it a movie that you saw? Do you recall like where the inspiration came from? Because to want to become a foster parent, that's a very specific desire.
I guess the inspiration is moving from family member to family member. And again, the inconsistency that I had with
Yeah.
family members. And then like sometimes, oh, me. That's what I was called Mimi back in the days. Well, still does. The kids call me Mimi too. But then when other kids come along, that change, and I didn't like it. I didn't like the inconsistency at all. And I wanted to show consistency in kids' life. I wanted to be able to show them here's a home outside of home. Um, I was taught in my training, this is to foster, not adopt. So that was my motivation. Okay, I'm here to be a second home away from home. I never wanted to take a kid away from home. I never wanted to take a kid away from mom, dad, anyone. I wanted to be that home away from home. I want to be that foster parent who able to talk to the um bio mom, bio dad, and say,
Right.
hey, what kind of medicine do you think this child should have? You know, she's dealing with this, or this. I want to be able to have a conversation. I would love for the family to be able to come to my home and be able to spend Christmas or Thanksgiving with the children. So I it's mainly consistency.
And I love how you mentioned about you being very intentional with having conversations with the biological families.
Mhm.
Share with us, why is that so important for you as a foster parent to have connections with the biological parent?
Because it's so important to my kids. My kids love mom. My kids love dad. My kids love sister, brother, whoever that's important or close in their lives. They love them. And I don't want to take that love away from them. Like if I continue to take, I'm sorry, if I continue to take something away from them, then they'll probably try to regret me as well. But when they see that someone is trying to help them and to be able to not take away that love away from them, they have a lot of respect for you.
Absolutely. I agree with you wholeheartedly. And, you know, we're going to have an opportunity to talk about just the different demographics or age ranges. I think that's the better way of putting it. The
Mhm.
different age range of people that you've had an opportunity to foster so far. But you share with us briefly about your upbringing. You're now a foster parent. I'm thinking about my own experience as a kid, now have my own family. Family should be spelled Difficult. Difficult. Family is difficult, no matter if it's a biological family, a blended family, a foster family. It's all difficult. So, for yourself, how have you been able to navigate that terrain, knowing that family alone is challenging enough, but now you layer in uh, bringing in young people who have experienced some sort of trauma
Mhm.
and biological families who they just want their kids back home. How have you been able to navigate that so well?
My first thing is I treat my kids like they're my kids. I treat them like family. So when I introduce them to myself, when they walk in the door with caseworkers or whomever, I tell them, hey, this is no longer my home. It's our home. It's our home until you decide that you want to leave. Not until I want you to leave. I want whenever you decide that you want to leave my home, our home. So I encourage my kids to, not say your home or this yours. No, it's ours. It's ours. And I treat my kids. I have a niece. She's 11 years old, and I also have a 5-year-old niece whose birthday is tomorrow. So she'll be turning 6. But anyways,
Happy birthday,
um,
niece.
Carmen. Um, so I treat my kids just like I would treat those kids. My two nieces, I treat them like, okay, I don't tell them you can't go here or go in the refrigerator. I don't tell them you can't watch TV. I don't tell them those things. So I don't tell my kids those things. So I use my kids strongly. I don't put my kids in respite. I don't I don't sit my kids aside when I go on family vacation. Those are my kids.
Mm.
We're family. So when you walk in my door, you've joined a family with me.
We have to pitch our tent right there for a moment because I've heard of instances where some have done the opposite of what you've
Mhm,
done, where they kind of
mhm,
draw that line of like, no, you're there, we're here, this is only temporary. And I can only imagine how that may cause those young people to feel who are
mhm.
in that type of situation. But in your particular situation, I can only imagine how much trust that must build between you and the kids you have an opportunity to foster. What has the relationship been like with that approach that you use? How has that helped your relationship with those young people as they come through the door?
I have one kid. I've had her since she was 12 years old, and she's now 17. So sometimes she's my what's the word? She kind of like, okay, this what Mimi like. Mimi like this. We do this. We go out of town. We do trips. We do this. We do that. She kind of like tell the kids all about, our lifestyle. And so the trust, I get a lot of kids that still, that will call me mom, but call me Mimi, but introduce
Yeah.
me as mom, my other mom, stuff like that. I never want to take away from real mom, bio mom, because bio mom is always there. No matter what, no matter what. And I try to use that with my kids as well. Like, for instance, you go to school, you curse at the teachers, you go off, you get upset with the teachers. So I tell my kids, you love your mama so much, so much. She's not even here, but you love her so much. Just imagine that teacher with a child or a niece or a cousin who love them just as much as you love your mom. So try to have the same respect that you would have for your mom for those teachers out there. So that's something I try to like instill in them a lot, because respect goes a long way. And that's one thing that I want my kids to know, like, have respect for adults. Because my great grandparents taught me respect, regardless of what age. I could go to McDonald's. I'm saying yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, because I want my kids to mimic what I'm doing as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a really great point. Thinking about the one young lady that you say she kind of preps everybody. She's like the drill sergeant, so to speak, and I use that phrase lightly. All right, here's what we're gonna do. This how it's done around here. This what it's gonna be like.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that a little bit. So, what age range do you typically take in for foster care?
So in the beginning, I had a 5-year-old niece. I had a 5-year-old niece at the time when I first started. So I kind of wanted kids around her age. Um, Again, it was so easy to dress those little kids, and they loved it. Oh, we dressed alike. Look at us. So her mom was murdered.
Mm,
Um, she was murdered a couple years ago, like 5 years ago. Yep. I think I was a foster parent for maybe a year before she was killed, but she was murdered 5 years ago. And I don't try to, like, okay, so, Morgan, I'm gonna give you $10. This kid, I'm gonna give you $2. I don't do that. If I'm giving Morgan 10, I'm giving my other kid $10 as well, right?
sure.
So at this moment when my niece lost her mom, even though she had been with me since she was 3 days old, when she lost her mom, I didn't want to compete with her. I didn't want to have no other kid in competition with her. Even though I knew also that my my help was needed with teenagers. I knew I could like have a rapport with teenagers. I knew that I could, try to instill something in teenagers, to help them along the way. So I had like two teenagers with three younger kids, but I completely let the younger kids go and start dealing with mainly the teenagers, maybe like 14, 13 to 17 age. I was doing a lot of kids who would age out, you know, they would come and I would get them, and I still have relationship with them right now. Still for Mother's Day, I have, so many calls. I just got a text from one of my kids that aged out 2 years ago, and her saying how much she appreciate me, how much she think that appreciate that I never gave up on her.
Mhm.
So those kind of text messages, those kind of talks, phone calls, that means so much to me. That means I feel like I've done my part when I receive those calls. So teenagers, typically, I would say 13 to 17
13 to 17 is the age group that you find yourself
now.
fostering now. And what would you say is the biggest difference between those two groups? So the younger kids and the teenagers, is there any difference when fostering?
No, no. And just a shout out to anyone who's considering teenagers. It's not hard. It's not hard. Just do it. Teenagers want a hug just like the little kids.
Yeah.
They want love just like the little kids. They just a whole bunch of little kids that has messed up. and done things that they shouldn't have done. But at the end of the day, they still need love. I had one of my kids, she just graduated. She aged out last year, November. So she had another year to go to school. She graduated last week. Yay. And
Nice.
um, every night and every morning before she would go to bed at night and before she would go to school in the morning, she would come and give me a kiss on my cheek and say, "Good night, I love you," or "See you later, have a great day."
Yeah.
Every day, every night. And that meant so much to me. And like, again, relationship with mom, grandma, all of them came to my home for graduation. So
Wow.
that was like, yay, you know.
And I'm glad you spoke on that, Amelia, because there are misconceptions that comes along with being the foster parent of teenagers.
Hmm.
Uh, some I'll speak about some of the myths that I've heard, and if you would just kind of share some of the ones that you've heard. Oh well, if I foster, teenagers, they're gonna beat me up. If I foster teenagers, then I won't be able to control them. What do I even do with them? Those are some of the concerns that I've heard. What are some of the concerns or misconceptions that you've heard from your side with fostering teenagers?
Pretty much the same thing. You also experience a little bit more. You have to be concerned about your address being put out there, different people coming to your home. Um, you have that issue because you have some kids that's being what's the word? Human trafficking.
Mm,
So you have those. I deal with a lot of those kids. I deal with all kids. I deal with all kids. I have kids with HIV. Guess what? It could have been my family member. So
right.
guess what? That kid needed love just like anybody else needed love. So still to this day, she aged out of foster care. She still keep in contact with me. She need this or that. I'm there for her. I try not to enable my kids because I wanted them to go out there and get it, get their education, get a job. But I'm there for them. I support them still. I just don't enable them, but
Yeah.
I'm there for them. Um, but you experience a lot more with teenagers than kids. You don't have those concerns. You have concerns of the kids running away. You have concerns of just it's a different,
Sure.
but still they're kids at the end of the day, regardless of how grown they are, how disrespectful they are, how anything, because they can be disrespectful. they
Sure.
could be they could be the kids that go to the school and curse everyone out. But guess what, they're still kids. And that's what I have to remind myself and remind others around me too. Like, regardless of what this child is doing, like, I may be upset today. I may be upset. But guess what? I have to realize this is just a kid. It's a hurt kid sometimes.
Exactly. It's a kid who has experienced trauma and trying to
Hmm.
make sense of it all.
Hmm.
One of the things that I share with people is, hey, think for a moment. You as an adult, how do you deal with trauma that you experience in your own life? And however you deal with that trauma, now consider the fact that you have a teenager or a child
Hmm.
whose frontal lobe is not yet fully developed, who may not yet have the emotional maturity that you, adult, may have.
Hmm.
How else do you expect for that child to process that trauma that they're dealing with? So
Right.
they're not a bad child. They're just trying to make sense of the craziness that they may be experiencing right now.
Right.
And so, just hearing you share how you just really seek to build a genuine relationship with these young people and put yourself in their shoes and be empathetic to where
Uh-huh.
they may be, I think that is so dynamic. Kudos to you for being there and doing that for those young
Thank you.
people. Hey, if you just tuned in, this is A Tribe Called Family. I'm your host, Octavius Davis. We're talking with Amelia Stapleton. Amelia is a foster parent, and she's not just a foster parent, but she is the foster parent that's going to make sure that everybody is dressed alike. When they come up on the scene at whatever event, you're going to know who came with who because they all going to have on the exact same thing:
That's
colors,
right.
shoes, barrettes in their hair, the whole nine yards. So, Amelia, how many young people have you fostered up to this point?
Oh my goodness. I don't know. I haven't I said I wanted to keep a count. I want to like remember. I remember each kid that have come to my home, but I don't remember how many. It's
Yeah.
been like hundreds of kids.
Wow. Wow.
It's been a lot, but I will say sometimes when I get a full house, I keep a full house. I
Yeah.
keep a full house. Because I aim for consistency.
Sure.
I don't want to see my kids going from home to home. In my training class, we saw a video. And the video was the little girl going from home to home to home to home to home. And I said, I don't want my kids like that. I
Mm.
don't want them packing their bags, leaving. I mean, some situation is different. I mean, I've seen it. I mean, I had to have kids to leave. I had to have requests for kids to be removed. It has happened. I
Sure.
mean, I'm only human. The kid's only human. I had one kid to tell me she was said, Mimi, I really like being with you, but you remind me so much of my mama, and I don't need a
Mhm.
mama. I don't
Wow.
need another mama. And she requests to be removed.
Wow.
But guess what? Every kid is different. So
Yeah.
I couldn't allow her statement to make me, change the ways that I act towards the other kids. But she came back. So that meant like, oh, now you need a mama? No.
Well, and I was gonna ask, so when she communicated that to you, was it from the standpoint of, "You remind me of my mama, I don't need no another mama," or was it just like, "You know what? This is gonna probably be too challenging for me because you
Yes.
remind me so much of my mom."
Yes, that's how, and I didn't take it personal at all.
Yeah.
But then when she made that comment, I was like, well, maybe should I push off a little bit or should I, whatever? Because normally I could get a kid today or tomorrow and we'll be getting ready to go on a family vacation. Guess what? Let me go get your hair done because we getting ready to go on a family vacation tomorrow and we all gonna look like somebody. We're
Yeah.
gonna be somebody. And when I do family trips and family, like when we all go out and even come to FSS events, and I appreciate them too because they not only allow me to bring my foster kids, but my family as well. Because we're
Absolutely.
family. I shouldn't have to exclude my nieces because it's a foster care event. They allow me to bring my family and I like that. And because we are one, when we go on family vacation, I don't not include my kids, because we on a family event or whatever. So I appreciate FSS allowing, foster parents to include their kids.
Make sure all of the children feel like they're part of the family.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really dope. So, Amelia, we're getting ready to wrap up. Uh, 2 final questions for you.
Hmm.
Uh, the first question, if younger Amelia, you shared with us your story at the beginning, how you moved around a lot as a younger person. If young Amelia could see Amelia now, what would she say about how you've brought stability to so many young people's lives?
She'll say, "You still not married, but you have a lot of kids and you're doing a great job."
Not young Amelia going in on you. I mean, come on, young Amelia.
I used to sit and talk to myself because I was the only kid. And I used to be like, ooh, white fence, lots of kids, uh, my husband. I used to think like that, but
Sure.
now I have the kids, but still don't have the husband. So
You halfway there. You never know. You never know. But thank you for sharing that about you being a single person and also fostering because I think that's really important for the
Mhm.
listening audience to know and understand that you there are so many different ways that family can come into
Mhm.
being, especially as a foster parent. You don't have to be in this cookie cutter type of dynamic in order to become a foster parent. You can be a single person and still foster. What would you say to the person who's listening to this right now? Maybe the thought of becoming a foster parent has come and gone periodically, and now you have their attention.
Mhm.
What would you say to them to motivate them to move forward and take that next step?
We have kids out here that need love. We have kids that need a home. Have kids that need someone to support and help them and take them in the right direction. I tell my kids all the time, I asked to be a foster parent. You didn't ask to be here. I
Mm,
asked to be here. So I'm gonna do my part and I'm gonna be the best foster parent I can be. And if there are foster parents out there that's interesting, come on out. Just make them feel like family, and everything will go smoothly.
wow, that is a powerful statement. Foster parents sign up to become foster parents.
Uh huh.
Kids in foster care did not sign up for that.
Nope.
They did
Nope.
not sign up for that. Wow. Well, Amelia, thank you so much for sharing your dynamic story with us. We really appreciate you taking out some time to come and talk to the tribe.
Hey family, welcome to the tribe called family.